Good evening, everybody.
Second county.
We're going to start the agenda portion, review session for Wednesday, November 18th, 2015. Good evening. Ordinances on second reading, 501, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic. Amend various schedules in the city ordinances. Schedule 24, no parking at any time. Schedule 26, no parking certain hours. Section 1016, Schedule 45, passenger drop-off and pickup zones. Resolutions. 529, approve agenda amendments. 530, approve payroll. 531, authorize refund for redeemed tax sale certificates. 532, approve ABC liquor license renewals 2015 to 2016. 533, disposition of charges against Casmas Incorporated, trading as JJ Tavern, 186 Hamilton Street, liquor license number 1214-33034-003. 534, authorize relocation liens for amount expended to relocate tenants of certain properties: 53 Carmen Street, 64 Plum Street, 66 Seaman Street, 48 Delavan Street, 192 Rutgers Street, 63 Remsen Avenue, 24 Oak Street, 177 Somerset Street. 535, authorize tax collector to transfer credits on several tax and utility accounts. 536, authorized purchase by police department under state contract A81348 from Lanigan Associates Incorporated for 4 bulletproof vests for the police department, not to exceed $3,025. 537, authorized resolution of concurrence with New Jersey Department of Transportation, with no passing zone along Route 26, Livingston Avenue in New Brunswick. 538, authorized resolution of concurrence with New Jersey Department of Transportation, no passing zone along Route 91, Jersey Avenue, New Brunswick. 539, resolution of concurrence with New Jersey Department of Transportation, no passing zone along Route 172, George Street, New Brunswick. 540, approve amendment resolution R09141549, reason to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $1,922.50 to Mitzner and Mitzer, Police Officer Brad Burdell in the matter of Deloche versus Police Officer Brad Burdell, from $30,143.75 to $32,066.25. 541, approve Chapter 159 budget insertion, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, for Fire Department Generator Project, amount $221,196. 542, approve award of contract with APRIS Incorporated for online access to accident reports for the police department, 12-month period commencing November 19, 2015 and ending November 18, 2016. Specification number 48915 RFP, fair and open. 543, approve amendment resolution R101239, reason to pay $73.64, final bill for Police Department Division of Domestic Violence Digital Copy Machine with GE Capital Information Tech. Solutions doing business as Rico USA. The amount is $73.64. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the original contract. $544, authorized lease of copy machine for the police department, domestic violence, with Capital Information Tech Solutions, doing business as Rico USA Incorporated. For one Rico MP2554 SP digital copier system, not to exceed $80.92 per month, commencing December 1st, 2015 and ending November 30th, 2019. 48-month contract. State contract A82709. New Jersey cost per copiers /M0053. 545, approval of resolution R081556 to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $2,499.89 to the Department Law Firm Incorporated, LLC, for special counsel, City of New Brunswick. Adversarial Marvick Construction Corporation, from $15,000 to $17,499.89. 546, approve award of contract with Maximum Volume Foods Incorporated, furnish and deliver food products for the Senior Citizen Resource Center. The term is 12-month period commencing November 19, 2015 and ending November 18, 2016. Rebid specification number 45215PR, not to exceed $16,138.82. 547, approval of resolution R101521, change order number 1 with Joe Med Contracting Corporation for Plum Street, sanitary, sewer, and roadway improvement. Specification number 886-15. The amount is $1,688.88. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the original contract. 548, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance and lane closure, requested by Sky High Erectors and Equipment Incorporated. The reason is to hoist new HVAC equipment to the roof at 106 Albany Street. The date is Saturday, November 21st, 2015. Alternate dates, Saturday, December 5th and 12th, 2015. Time 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. 549, approve relaxation of the city noise and road closure. From Amquip Crane Rental to remove Metro PCS cellular equipment and steel platform from 390 George Street. Date is Saturday, November 21st, 2015. Alternate date, Saturday, November 28th and December 5th, 2015. Time is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. 550, approve award of contract to New Jersey Realty Advisory Group, LLC, for real property appraisal services. New fire department headquarters project, specification number 889D15 RFP, not to exceed $8,500. 551, approve request for the use of city sidewalk requested by G&J's Kids Fashion, LLC, location sidewalk in front of 276 George Street. Anniversary sale of new clothing release, date Saturday, November 21st, 2015. Time is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. 552, approve appointment of counsel. Name, James F. Clark III, Esquire, for special counsel for Board of Ethics complaints, not to exceed $4,650. 553, approve request for street closing, request by Sacred Heart, St. Joseph Church, location. St. Joseph Church on Somerset Street, to right on Hardison Street, cross French Street, to Town Street, to Troop Avenue, ending at Sacred Heart Church, for Our Lady of Guadalupe procession. The date is Friday, December 11, 2015. Time is 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Police officer there for duty. Item discussed by council, proposed 2016 city council meeting schedule.
That was in the council's packet. I believe we tried to identify all of this federal, state, religious holidays for purposes of scheduling next year's meetings. If that's acceptable, the council will agendize it at the next meeting for adoption.
Does anybody have any problem with that? Anybody?
Okay, proceed on next meeting's agenda.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar. Here. Council Vice President Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Present.
Council President Egan.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the municipal council of the city of New Brunswick, has been filed with the city clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the city of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think tonight not only will we have a moment of silence for our men and women serving in our armed forces and who have lost their lives in battle, we'll also have a moment of silence for the people of France who lost their lives. We have minutes from October 21st, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Council Vice President Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. We will now move to a public hearing on the Casmas Incorporated Trading as J.J. Tavern liquor license number 1214-33-034-003. Mr. Shammy?
Yes, Mr. Council President, members of the council, this evening there has been agendized a hearing on liquor license charges against Casmas Inc., trading as J.J. Tavern, also known as Lounge 372. As the council is aware, the matter was adjourned a couple times so that we could provide the licensee with the reports and documentation detailing the complaint, which was dated July 21st, 2015, against the licensed establishment. Casmas Inc. is represented by Louis Marquetta, who is here today, with this principal of the establishment. I can report to the council that I've had extensive discussions with council as well as with Detective DeGraw, who's standing in the back of the room, who's the ABC enforcement officer, who actually signed the charges relative to this licensed establishment. Having had extensive discussions and looking toward the future, hopefully positive conduct of this particular licensee, taking into consideration that this licensee has never been charged before. Myself, as well as counsel for the licensee, is prepared to propose a resolution of the charges to the City Council for its consideration, and if acceptable, will be adopted this evening by resolution. Specifically, the licensee has agreed to plead no contest to 4 of the counts in the complaint. Counts 5, which deal with violations of keeping the appropriate books and records up to date. Count 7, which deal with certain advertising, which was a violation of the Title 13 of the Administrative Code. Count 10, which deals with posting certain notices that are required under the statute that applies to liquor license establishments. And count 12, which deals with another administrative violation under Title 33. So those 4 counts, the licensee is proposing to plead no contest to. The remaining counts would be dismissed. In conjunction with that, the licensee will accept a 15-day suspension of its liquor license. That particular suspension would commence January 4, 2016 and run through January 18, 2016. In addition, the licensee has agreed for the remainder of the license term, that's through June 30th of 2016, to incur the cost of an extra duty police officer on every Friday and Saturday evening from 10:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. When the premises is open for business for purposes of maintaining order in and about the licensed premises. The council is aware we've had that special condition with other licensees, which I believe has proved to be helpful with respect to issues that occur in and about the licensed premises. Lastly, the licensee has agreed to provide 72-hour notification of any special or promotional events that they decide they might want to offer there at the establishment, as well as any change in the employee list with respect to employees who may come to be employed by the establishment, either for the special events or otherwise, within 72 hours. Those are the terms and provisions of the proposed resolution. I believe it's appropriate to have Mr. Marquetta acknowledge that, and perhaps his client as well. And after having done that, the council, if you have any questions or concerns, I'm certainly sure able to answer.
Mr. Marquetta, step up to the microphone, please. Introduce yourself for the record.
Yes, thank you, Council. Louis Marchette on behalf of Casmats Incorporated and Cupertino Garcia, the owner of Casmats, who is here. I listened to Mr. Shammy, and what he has stated is correct and true, and is the appropriate resolution of the agreement that we have and statement of the agreement we have in regard to this matter. And I can concur with it, and I appreciate Mr. Shammy's help. On behalf of Mr. Garcia, and I appreciate the help that Detective DeGraw has provided in this matter as well. Now, if I may, I can just ask my client.
Sure.
Mr. Garcia, would you come up, please? Yes. Mr. Garcia, you've heard what Mr. Shammy has stated with respect to resolution of the charges against the license?
Yes,
And do you agree with them?
I am.
And you intend to comply with them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Marquetta. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this particular matter?
President.
Yes, Mr.
I just
Council.
asked the dates for the 15-day suspension.
January 4th to
January
18th.
18th.
4th to the 18th of 2016.
So they couldn't reopen again until the 19th.
Correct. And they have to close on the 4th.
Yeah, no, we just recently changed that. Yeah, no, there was a discussion out in the hall with Mr. Marquetta, which apparently I had the dates wrong. So the stipulation which will memorialize the settlement will be amended to reflect the correct dates. And this particular stipulation of settlement will be executed on behalf of the licensee, Mr. Marquetta, and myself on behalf of the police department. And it will be the document that will govern this particular disposition.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions in this matter? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon.
Thank you. So assuming the council is
We'll move to it with the
on consent
resolution.
agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have ordinances on second reading, 501. An ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic. Amend various schedules in the city ordinances. Section 10, 16, 20, Schedule 24, no parking at any time. Section 10, 16, 30, Schedule 26, no parking certain hours. Section 10, 16, 250, Schedule 45, passenger drop-off and pickup zones. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this particular ordinance? Anybody on this particular ordinance? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Council Vice President Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. We have resolutions 529 through 553. I am going to abstain from the one dealing with the ethics and appointment of Mr. Clarkin.
52.
52, please.
So noted.
Thank you. Would anybody from the public like to comment on any of these particular resolutions this evening? Anybody from the public on the resolutions? On the resolutions? Seeing none?
Move the resolutions. Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Council Vice President Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. We'll now have the public portion of the meeting. If anybody would like to address the city council this evening, please come up to the microphone. You have 5 minutes to address the council. Please state your name and address. Come on up. All are welcome. Father Doug.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I live on 182 Hamilton Street. And this is what I wanted to talk about. So last year, as temperatures got colder, Rutgers University, a public university, closed its library doors to anyone that was not a student after 10 p.m. Many students asked what would become of the unhoused individuals, and many responded that there should be a shelter for them. And that made a lot of sense. The university isn't supposed to house people or shelter anybody. But in my time in New Brunswick for the past 5 years, I haven't heard of any of these shelters that are open. There is an interfaith rotating shelter in the extreme cold. And of course, the clergymen that come together to put this together in the winter are very inspiring, and their efforts are necessary. But I don't think this is the only time a city should provide a helping hand. A life should not only be valued when it's close to death. Unhoused individuals arrive at their situations for many different reasons. Some are veterans. Some have had to make the choice between living with an abusive partner or on the streets. Some were unjustly fired. Some have mental or physical illnesses. Some have a disability. Others are struggling with drug addictions. The reason I share that is to emphasize that many of these people have already faced a major life trauma, and living on the streets isn't helping them heal from this major life trauma. Instead, they are only being inflicted by more. So chronic homelessness is not a personal problem, it's a societal problem, and I think we need a societal solution to it. In the last 2 weeks, we've had an online petition on change.org, and over 800 people from the New Brunswick area or from Rutgers University have signed it, demanding that New Brunswick have an emergency shelter for these individuals. And I believe some of them are here tonight to express in person how much we need this shelter. So just for like numbers, can I see people's hands if they're here for that reason, or if they actually just should support having a shelter in New Brunswick?
Ma'am, I'm running the meeting here, not you.
Okay. So our demands are that we meet with an appropriate representative from the city to open a shelter by this January. It doesn't have to be built from the bottom up, but we demand that there be a shelter available in New Brunswick, as there currently isn't. And we demand that ongoing, that there be a committee that involves both the city, representatives from Rutgers, and unhoused individuals that see that we have a rapid rehousing model implemented in New Brunswick.
What town are you from, ma'am? Where do you hail from?
I've lived in New Brunswick for the last 5 years.
And before that, and before you
Jersey
came to
City.
Rutgers? Where?
Jersey City.
Jersey City, okay. So you realize we do have homeless shelters in New Brunswick, right?
Every homeless person that I've spoken to has not been able to get into these shelters because there's a long waiting list.
Mr. Patterson, could you give a little more insight to our shelters and what we have available, please?
Yes, Mr. Council President. There are a number of shelters for the homeless in New Brunswick. There's the Osnum Men's Shelter on Beale Street, which has 40 beds. That's for men down
Hold on
there.
1 second, are you writing this down?
No, I knew about that shelter and it's been at full capacity.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
Patterson.
There's the Women Aware Safe House, which has 24 beds for victims of domestic violence.
I also knew about
There-
that one and that's specifically.
Excuse me, but I have the floor right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Had the Osnum Family Shelter, which is located in Edison, which has 16 beds for singles, 26 beds for families. There's the Interfaith Seasonal Shelter, which has 15 beds. Naomi's Way Transitional Housing for women and children with 11 one-bedroom apartments and 5 two-bedroom apartments to transition people from the shelters into more permanent type of housing. Bates House Transitional Housing, 20 beds. State Street Transitional Housing, which is over in Perth Amboy, which can also be used with 25 rooms, 27 studios. We have one-bedroom apartments. We also have permanent supportive needs housing in the city, including the C Promise House with 10 units there. The RCHP, the Reformed Church of Highland Park, has done 2 projects on Redmond Street. Each of them have 3 bedrooms and house 5 people each. There's the Women Aware Shelter, which has 3 units for permanent supportive needs housing for victims of domestic violence, which is the first supportive needs housing in the state of New Jersey for victims of domestic violence. And there are 10 units under construction right now, right down the street at Dina's Dwelling, which will have 10 units of supportive needs housing for victims of domestic violence. We're also looking at doing another project next year in cooperation with Bergen County United Way and Coming Home for an additional 10 to 12 units of supportive needs housing. They're currently talking to HMFA and ourselves about financing for the project.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
So that was a really impressive list, and I've heard of a lot of those shelters, yet a lot of the homeless individuals in New Brunswick cannot get into those shelters due to their eligibility requirements or because they don't have access to them. So I would like to ask, why are there so many people that are currently homeless in New Brunswick if it sounds like there's just so many units available for them?
What's the number that you have as so many people that are homeless? What's the numbers?
Over 40.
Over 40? I don't think there's that many.
Well,
Where are you getting your data from?
from talking to them and actually seeing them. And if we don't want to agree that
I
there's
lived in
40
Brunswick my
people.
whole life, and I've never seen more than, I don't see more than 40 homeless people.
Okay, so how many have you seen?
I would say less than 20.
Less than 20. So why are those less than 20 people not being housed right now?
Well, I don't know, I haven't spoken to them. But I mean, how do I know if they made the effort to even go there? Some people don't even want to go to a shelter. They'd rather live outside. I've tried to take people to a shelter a couple of times, they don't want to go. I mean, I think from that impressive list right there, that New Brunswick is certainly doing its part as far as the homeless. And we're the first people in the state of New Jersey to have a shelter for women who were abused for domestic violence, and we're building another 10 units right now.
And I do think that's amazing, but I don't think that's all of the homeless people that are currently in New Brunswick. And I don't think that there's accurate information even about how many people that are homeless in New Brunswick. There's just a large need for a shelter, and I don't think that these units are effectively dealing with that. So what I'm asking for is to meet with someone specifically to talk about this, instead of just hearing these numbers presented to us, being told that it's being taken care of, and then walking to the train station at night and seeing clearly that it's not being taken care of. Is that something that is
Ma'am,
possible to do?
We can't make people go to shelters. Some people we cannot make go.
I don't think the case is that people don't want to go to the
So you
shelter.
think the reason is because there's no place for them to go, or we won't let them in, there's no room for them? That's what you're thinking?
Yes. Or there's eligibility requirements that they cannot meet, and they cannot enter a current shelter.
What did you say your name was?
Jasmine.
Who? Glenn, can you, Mr. Patterson, can you find some time to meet with her and speak?
I was going to add that the County of Middlesex is the Continuum of Care Agency for Middlesex County. They are the agency that coordinates all of the homeless programs throughout the county. Because what I just listed here is just what's in New Brunswick and available to people here. There are a number of other programs in other towns.
So after the meeting, can you give her the person to speak to at the county, and she can start over there?
Talk to the Middlesex County Community Development Office, and they can help her with that. They have a number of people over there who can help them with it. They can explain some of the other programs they have. They do have a rapid rehousing program. I believe they have two of them, one that the county operates and one that Catholic Charities operates for rapid rehousing, as well as another bunch of other support services, as well as support services are available in New Brunswick also, such as the Eric B. Chandler Health Center, Rutgers Behavioral Health, the 3 different food banks, and the soup kitchen. So there are a large number of services here. Is there enough to address the needs of every homeless person in New Brunswick? No, but I don't know if there's a city in the United States that has those funds. We've dedicated all of our home funds for the last 3 years to developing supportive needs housing for the homeless. Those are all the dollars that we have there. We've been very aggressive about trying to build housing for the homeless in this city and provide other support services.
Yeah, I mean, we do pride ourselves on our record. Is there enough that can be done? No, I understand what you're saying. So what we're going to do is we can talk to Mr. Patterson after the meeting and he can explain to you some of the things he's talked about and go over to the county. But we're always trying to do more here. All right?
That sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council this evening?
Hi, honorable gentlemen and women, thank you for your time. My name is Sarah Luo. I'm currently also a records superintendent. I'll be working at Morgan Stanley as a business analyst. So today I would like to talk to you about statistics and numbers. So the current state of what we are talking about, we must keep in mind that if we're going to talk about a homeless population, we cannot generalize and lump them all into the same category. Not saying that any of you are doing that, but this has been the bulk of my research for the past 4 years. So when we look at the chronically homeless population, this is a category of individuals that are not able to qualify, they're not eligible for shelters because that's considered transitional housing. Now, chronically long-term homeless population, that actually makes up more than 50% of the current homeless population in New Brunswick. Now, if you ask what the numbers of homeless people currently are, the point in time count about 3 years ago took a poll one night and they saw that there were 40 homeless individuals. The next day, they took another count. But they are not the only people with statistical research based on this. The actual number as of current 2015, it ballparks around 200 homeless individuals that do not qualify to go into shelters. Okay, so tonight I would actually like to talk about ways in which we can save the taxpayer money through programs considered, we call it rapid rehousing. It's also known as supportive housing, as Mr. Patterson has mentioned before. Yes, that program is very effective, but we need to keep in mind that when we are talking about support services, when we're talking about any type of program, we need to keep in mind that housing needs to come first. Let's say we get employment, let's say we get healthcare, let's say we get all these psychological, outpatient medical care. But if we do not have housing first, then the individual is at risk of all of the associated dangers as opposed to an individual that lives out on the streets. So tonight, what I would like to talk about, and you can interrupt me at any moment if I said anything that you find incorrect, because I don't want to take away from something that you already know, but I would like to add to what you already do know. And so my research has actually shown that the programs that we would want to further understand the magnitude of cost savings for the taxpayer, it's important to know that the cost savings are consistently found in cities all across the country in the United States. Atlanta, Georgia, northern cities here in our area, like New York City, where the implementation of these programs actually accounts for cost savings ranging from about $4,100 to $19,800 per homeless individual. And these are consistent starting from 2006 till now. So this decade of research has actually also been proven since the 1980s. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is not to say that we disregard the list of current services, but rather that those current services are undermined when we do not have the basic fundamental need of housing for these individuals, which currently we can see and say both from experience and from statistics that there isn't enough housing units. And so what I would like to propose based on what we currently discussed is you mentioned that we're building a new housing unit for the homeless individuals, but when I calculated the cost of what that would take, it costs more to build an entirely new building just for the homeless. It would be so much better to purchase something already on the market, a building that already currently exists. Whether we need to refurbish that or we need to simply just buy it off the market and use that. And let's say the risk that this program does not work, right? And we say, wow, this did not help at all. You can resell it back onto the market without all of the startup capital that you had previously invested. If you would like figures, I have some of them. And they show that when we do a program like the supportive housing program, in conjunction, in partnership with support services, we actually save much more cost than we do when we initially invest in a building that way. That was my point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Patterson.
But just a couple of the points. The point she made about purchasing existing housing and converting that into housing for the homeless, supportive needs housing, that's exactly what we've done on Redmond Street with 2 different projects with Reformed Church of Highland Park. So we have done exactly that. And you also talked about the housing we're building right now down at Dina's Dwelling. That is repurposing space that was not going to be used in the Reformed Church there, which was a struggling congregation. This allows them to get some dollars so that that historic building and historic congregation can remain functional and provide needed supportive needs housing for domestic violence victims in a convenient location in the middle of downtown New Brunswick. It's such a good project today that Ms. Bradshaw went down to Atlantic City today and to accept an award from the League of Municipalities for the City of New Brunswick's innovative efforts in developing housing for the homeless with the Dina's Dwelling project.
Now you forget. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Anybody else like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Step right up.
Good afternoon, my name is Walter Harris. How you doing, Mr. Egan, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Jones, how you doing? In reference to what you just stated, I just left their steering committee meeting, and their budget, that's the only building out of all 14 properties that they have, that they're in the negative, they're in the red of that, due to the fact all the expenses and things of that nature. So that's not even, you're permanently housed, but the expenses and the cost, as Sarah and Jasmine just alluded to, is blowing you out the water. It's like they're falling behind on that. More so, I came to address your list that you just discussed prior to me coming here. I work for you gentlemen, FEMA, Catholic Charities, all these services out here from coming home to continuing care. The point in time is very inaccurate because those numbers are duplicated. That's not counting the undocumented that's keep growing, and it's not counting the also undocumented that's being released to prison. Being released from prison right now as we speak. And they're very transient homeless because New Brunswick is in between a lot of different counties and they just drop off as a depot. That is not the only homeless that you see. The 20, it's more than 20, it's more like 200 and growing. So it's an epidemic. More so, if you want to allude to one Zebra Ray coming in 2 years, that is a structure with how many units? 8 units, I suppose? Okay, that's still not going to count. So when we worked in Trenton when the model was actually being effectively housed, was effectively moving towards housing, that's not the issue. The issue, yes, long-term is permanent housing, but in the immediate, we need an immediate emergency shelter. There's plenty of space throughout New Brunswick. Actually, Pastor Seth, the RCHP program that you just discussed about, they are looking, they actually addressed Emmanuel Lutheran Church with the council building across the street on Kirkpatrick Street to build up from there. I also had a discussion with Mr. Jones about that, possibly being, I want to go to your task force meeting on the homeless task force meeting coming this Thursday or every second Thursday. I'll be there as well. But we're not here to argue or not doing anything. We're not here to argue that, there's not enough services available. There are services available, but the policies within these services are not working. I am an ex-chronically homeless person. And at the same time, I work clinically with everybody from the federal to the state, from Congressman Pallone, the Court Booker's office, you name it, I've worked with them. So what I wanted to propose is not only creating awareness of this issue, but the funding, what was like, is $3 billion in the nation in HUD. $3 billion in the nation in HUD. For the county, numbers 2009 was like 31 million. So we know that Eliza promised, yeah, they did receive the FEMA funding. That's what paid me while I was working for them. Nonetheless, what happened is they was trying to lobby to get the upstairs of 18 Nielsen, which could have housed everyone by the river. Instead, the church blocked that, and they said you can use the meeting room. And we only dealt with families, individuals, veterans, things of that nature. So yes, they have a veterans thing in Highland Park, but homeless are very close-knit to New Brunswick, so they don't want to cross the bridge. So in essence, there's enough resources available if everyone, the community, the Rutgers community, you just heard that they're aware of this issue now. The clergy's been aware of this issue. That's why the winter shelter was created. And actually, December 21st was honored as the National Day of Homelessness through the efforts of myself, Robert Mason, and Yvette Molina. So this has to be addressed. It can't be pushed under the rug like I said last time. And then prior to that, there was another woman that came up and addressed the things she's meeting him. So like, if Catholic Charities is working, if Jewish Renaissance Centers is working, if Eliza Promise has a minimal outreach where they take you a care package, a little bit of food, and drop it off and walk away. That's not outreach. Outreach is when you help to the rescue mission at 4 o'clock, the overflow shelter. There's a populace that if they don't get in at 4 o'clock, the outreach workers, myself and other people, would come around in the car and say, hey, can I do a quick assessment? So the assessment can change. And more so if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty situation, Homeless Hotline was shut down and audited for playing with FEMA funding due to the fact that they was lying to him and saying that they rehouse individuals at a motel, and then 3 days later they're back on the streets. So then Coming Home was created, taking welfare referrals, taking other eligibility requirements that I've actually mocked while I was on the street, sent 10 to 15 people at Coming Home, and they told them they're not eligible, where they met their eligibility requirements, which they had on paper, which I spoke to with Ms. Cruz. So my conversation, I would like to be invited into the room to affect some type of, viable plan for resources for the homeless and implement an emergency shelter. So a petition on change.org is nearly reaching 1,000 people aware of the situation of homelessness. But these plans, that's 2 years from now. Tonight, someone can die of, just from being outside by the river too long. You see what I'm saying? So this is the nature of human rights. This is the nature of asking city government to just recognize the people that live within this community, because there's enough, there's money coming down the pike where there'll be enough to gut a building out and place this overflow of emergency shelter of military cots. For instance, you've seen that when the FEMA thing happened. And even Rutgers students felt like dislocated homeless people when the Sandy thing happened. And automatically, Rutgers police, state police, New Brunswick police was there, gutted out Livingston, and the gym was taken care of, and like 300 displaced students was automatically housed. So we're asking that same assessment and that same compassion that was used for the students to be placed upon the homeless populace. Because in that homeless populace, you don't know, there's no one causation for the homeless. It's not just addiction. It's not just UBHC bouncing these referrals back and forth. There may be a gentleman who's on Wall Street, had a bad divorce, and now all of a sudden he's drinking, or he just needs someone to send supportive services and wraparound services. So there's a lot of people that have counsel that we're trying to create to assess this, because of the fact that the existing structures that be, and you can name anyone you want to name, and I know them personally, that it's not working. There's no outreach component. And the outreach component, the only respectful program that I would like to mention is the PATH program. The PATH program is a very, very valuable program, and they come out to you and they do assessments, but that's necessarily mentally ill days. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at, and if you look at the National Alliance to End Homelessness, they have a grid from like 1 to like 7 of like 15 different pages explaining from all over the nation how you can prevent homelessness. So as I stated last time, the numbers which Mr. Patterson couldn't rebuttal, that there's plenty of money there. It's just, okay, are we gonna go together on this, or are we gonna privatize this and push it to the side so everybody in the city council benefits? That's not just. So I'm asking that you look at the situation and you speak with the people. I represent the homeless community. They represent the Rutgers community, who's more than aware of the situation now and would like to assist, not demand, not be radical or anything of that nature. We'd just like to assist and solve this problem together. So that's what I like to say.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anybody else like to speak to the city council? Anybody else?
Hi, good evening. My name is Julius Moyes, 77 Carmen Street. I'm just here to extend an invitation to an event that we're having from NJ Perk students. This is going to be on December 1st on the Rutgers, New Brunswick campus. We're going to be discussing the future of solar energy here in New Brunswick. New Brunswick has already been a leader in solar power, having I guess it was the biggest public project of solar panel installation in the entire history of the state just a couple years ago. And, the future of solar energy kind of hinges on not just the environmental aspect of it, but also the job creation element, the economic situation here in the city. And so we're going to be having a panel discussion with Mayor Cahill, as well as several other solar experts. And I just want to extend that invitation to everybody here and to the City Council. We would love to have you there. It's going to be Tuesday, December 1st, from 7 to 9 p.m. And you can come contact me for any additional information. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
So,
Where's it going to be at, sir? The actual spot?
Trey's Hall, and it's on the Douglas campus.
Trace Hall, Douglas campus. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else like to address the council this evening? Anybody else? Seeing nobody else?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar,
Yes.
Council Vice President Fleming,
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti,
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes.